don't like that?
I like it.
Listen to the bass. Now listen to this fucking bubbly ass synthesizer when it kicks. It's better than any synthesizer that I've ever heard. But wait, hold on. You guys fucking appreciate it.
All right, so.
Wait for the synthesizer. Ooh. If that doesn't make you want to do drugs, I don't know what. Fuck.
Okay, so we're rolling.
Are we rolling right now?
Yeah. This is Iggy Pop?
Iggy Pop, yeah. Endless Sea.
You know what? Iggy Pop, when I'm his age and I'm a rock star, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be Iggy Pop, but
yeah.
I want to have the confidence that Iggy Pop has to wear no shirt.
He still has that body, though. I mean,
but does he?
I don't know. I haven't checked in for a while.
You know what I want? I want the body of Doyle from the Misfits and the confidence to be able to display it. Like, you know the Misfits? Do you know who the Misfits are? You have to know who the Misfits are.
Of course I know the Misfits.
All right, well, the bass player not the bass. I think Jerry only plays bass. The guitarist who is the most buff and just completely shredded even at his older age. That's what I'm talking about.
Some guys just got good genes. You see these guys sometimes when you're at the beach, in the boxing gym. Some guys just got good genes. Other people didn't hit the genetic lottery. You know? How's that smoothie coming along there?
It's great.
Right. Any fights coming up? Are we going to keep this Iggy playing? I like him in the back.
I mean, whenever you're ready to roll out. We might as well introduce the show as it is, though. This is episode 30 of the Boxed In Podcast.
It's been 30, huh? Holy shit. 30. That's crazy, man.
30 episodes.
Yeah. I hope people had the chance to look at our episode with John Brown, which I think was amazing. Probably the best episode that we've ever done.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I feel like that's the way it goes with
you get a guess
with a project like this. You keep getting better, but
better and better.
I do think that was our best episode so far, and encourage people to go look back. But
listen,
are you gonna keep playing this music the whole way?
You got to hear that synthesizer. We're gonna let it ride for a little bit.
I'm hearing it.
I think Daniel secretly likes it. He's like, I can't believe Trevor had this file and he pulled it out like this. Yeah, all right, I'll cut it. But wait, I'll cut it now. Damn, that was great though.
All right.
Oh, it's back. This thing is so sensitive. Like if I touch it, it'll probably come back again. Just be ready.
Okay. Be ready.
We should always, you know what? If anyone cares, that's the Endless Sea, Iggy Pop. So, yeah, we got some fights coming up. Hey, it's Larry Lara fights, right?
Fights this weekend, yeah.
Fights Canelo's brother, Ramon.
Ramon, yeah.
I feel like if your name is Ramon, you should be you're like a bad villain in a movie. Ramon.
They used to call my brother Ramon.
Really? What's
in college? His name is Eamon.
Eamon?
EAMON, but
autocorrect says
would always change to Ramon.
Yeah.
So among our friends in college, he was just like, "Hey, Ramon."
You give Canelo's brother any chance against Larry Lara?
I don't think so.
Absolutely not. There's no way.
Isn't Ramon the one
that
he fought on TV a couple of times? He's like the one out of all the brothers, he's the one from more TV appearances.
He might have fought it.
You know who was trying to fight him? Calling him out was episode 25 guest Alfonso Gomez.
Alfonso Gomez
had been calling him out.
You know what? That'd be a good fight.
That'd be a good fight.
I got Gomez on it just because of the experience and what he brings to the table. I read Gomez.
There was actual interest though. They were talking about it on Twitter amongst each other.
And then he had something going on with Chavez's brother too, right? Omar. I sort of vaguely heard that.
Maybe I was confused right now. Maybe I was thinking.
Oh, you're messing.
It was some big Mexican star's brother.
Mixing up your Alvarez's with the Chavez's.
Yeah. I was thinking of the little brother syndrome.
No, I get it.
You know.
I don't. For this Larry fight, I thought that I was actually at this Larry fight when he fought Canelo the first time in June Grand.
The only time. The one Canelo lost, right?
Yeah, I thought Canelo lost, but it's also a difficult fight to rob a star of, just because I believe that to some extent that if you're going to beat a champion, it has to have a certain look to it. So can't just. And I thought that it's Larry Lara won, and I'm not discounting that. I still, if I'm a judge, and I haven't been coerced somebody hasn't paid me off and I'm playing. No, but I would have said that Lara won. So it's also a business though. Lara's from Cuba. He's not gonna put asses in the seats. So what are you over there eating now? Yeah, look at you, dude. Just.
I counted a bigger chunk of ice in the smoothie than I anticipated.
I feel like that happens anytime when that's not supposed to happen.
Absolutely.
Not that's this time, but like, you ever like something's important and all of a sudden there's just something breathing hot dragging down your goddamn throat. You're like, how did that happen? Or you the water down the wrong windpipe thing.
Yeah, but
yeah,
I don't know if it has anything to do with.
I had that with John Brown. Listen, my eye started because of the lights. I hope. Did you edit that out? I haven't had a chance.
You didn't listen to the episode yet?
No, I didn't listen to the episode. But shit, I do know one thing. I felt like I was being interrogated in Guantanamo Bay. So, anyways, what are we talking about today? What's the topic?
Well, we could have opened with it, but I don't know. I was at the gym this week. Mm-hmm. We've been working on a few things. I don't know if you wanted to go over that.
About the gym and working on a few things?
Yeah.
I mean, shit, it's a gym. It's a process. Anytime that somebody's involved in boxing, they're going to come in. And it's always good when you can gauge a difference, right? Especially as a fighter.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not.
Although not in the weigh-in right now. I feel like I'm skinnier, but then
that's because you're eating those smoothies, bro.
Well, the smoothie happened right now.
They got like 150 grams of sugar.
Nah, dude. Well, whatever.
The
smoothie is just
glycogen just stored up, just not being.
I hadn't had any prior.
You haven't had any carbs. It's the first time you had carbs. Well, maybe your composition of your body's just. You look different. You look leaner.
Yeah.
So but I'm saying, as a fighter, it's hard to know sometimes when the differences are showing up. It's good to have a team around you. So if the team sees that you're doing well, or the people in the gym too. Also listening to people that have seen you spar.
Yeah.
So.
How about the fact that like as a fighter, you kind of have to always be on, like you're always in this fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
And I've had. I mean, everyone's had it where like you're getting ready for a fight. Yeah. You're preparing. You're giving your absolute.
You're talking about you're skirting around it. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, you can you're doing some supernatural human shit, right? Which is you're going through a camp typically for 4 to 6 weeks. And it's not like it just happened. You also came in a sort of condition even before you go to that fight camp. And with that, because there's Iggy, I told you.
You got to shut down the program.
It's not going to go like that.
Just shut down the program.
I don't want to shut it down like Iggy there. It's my little buddy.
Well, you were about to say something.
No, but anyways, needless to say, because you're in that situation and you're doing all these things, it's a lot of demands psychologically. It's a lot of demands on your body. And a lot of times I've seen fighters, and I believe this even to be true for the coaches because we're so locked in as well, but we're not dealing with as much as we're not dealing with the physical demands. Depression can set in. There can be anxiety. You're not sleeping as well. You're sparring. You're running. You've been waking up at 4 a.m. to run 4 miles.
I'm sleeping. I feel like I'm sleeping well. Yeah. It's short time, but I'm falling asleep fast.
Yeah, but
I used to throughout my whole life. I've had a hard time falling asleep.
Yeah,
it's misery. I'm sitting there in my bed for an hour, trying my best to fall asleep.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Now I'm getting to bed late because I'm usually working on some project or doing something, and it occupies my time. Late into the night. But when I finally do hit the hay, I will fall asleep fast because I don't have much memory of that.
So
that whatever. But I'm getting up at 4. I'm running, but here's the deal. Right now, my mental health is, I feel great. I feel like I'm in a good spot. Mm-hmm. I know that boxing has been a huge part of that because, I don't think that we've been friends for a couple of years now. You've heard me talk. When you say
mental health in boxing, people get a little off, right? Typically,
I was talking about depression. I was talking about
people that typically
self-worth, anxiety.
Off.
That's what I'm talking about.
Listen, I think that the demands of you as an athlete.
Yeah, I wanted to finish my talk.
Go ahead. Yeah.
But what I was going to say is that so much of it becomes this thing where you are working towards a goal. You're getting the endorphins. You are keeping yourself on track. I'm able to wake up early because I want this thing. Mm-hmm. I feel gratified by having done so. I have confidence in myself. I get a win early in that morning, throughout the day. I go to bed being happy. I am in a clear mental state all day. Then the fight happens, and even if you win the fight,
I've seen it happen to guys for sure.
You're not in that journey anymore.
Yeah, they kind of
so you lose that. Yeah, or you're getting ready for this fight, and something just doesn't go quite right. It doesn't happen, and that discouragement really takes a toll on you.
There's so many different variables you can imagine that come at play. Particularly, like, you're going to run across so much affirmation. Particularly from those people that are in your circle, or friends and family. If you got a girlfriend out there, or you have a wife, you have a significant other, everyone's gonna be very supportive on your path to a fight, and as they should be. You're doing this thing that gosh, less than 1% of the world could do, which is to get underneath the lights and fight, right?
But everyone will give you advice, though, right?
Yeah, everybody will give you advice, but it also you're getting as a fighter, you're feeling good because attention is going to cause you to release dopamine, and you can imagine, like, it's probably a perfect recipe to feel pretty damn good. Hey, you're working hard, your body's looking different. Good luck, champ. I know you got this.
Instant feedback of, okay,
instant feedback.
I went running.
Mm-hmm.
My body released endorphins. I feel good about it. I already want to do it again.
Then you also have that intermixed with.
But it makes the swing back into the low points so much bigger because you're so high when you're in the right spot.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, it's one of those phrases, I don't know, something about like about how you're experiencing the journey is more than the goal that you get to. I'm forgetting what the
ideally
the principle is
that you should enjoy the experience as much as you enjoy getting to the destination.
Right.
But it's also, that there's something about the human experience where we love having a purpose. Now we're talking about fighters, which is, you have a purpose to come back and have another professional fight, to have a bout, to be successful. You know that you're going to have a lot of people behind you that are going to be supportive of that. You have me, you have the gym, you have your family and so forth. This feels good. Mm-hmm. You also know that, that this is on a time clock itself.
Right.
And so afterwards, after you fight, and I know you'll be successful. I really believe that in my heart, to get that out there. After you're successful, there's also an inevitability that you're going to run across this moment where you're kind of like, well, what do I do now? Right. And it's I don't think it's limited to boxing.
It happens in all, yeah.
But it's probably a very hyper sensationalized form of these, human nuances that we all go through. Because you can imagine the accolades that come along with winning a fight, right? Being underneath the lights, feeling successful, let alone if you did something like if you knock somebody out, or you just put on this performance where everybody's looking at you and they're telling you did a hell of a job. So, it's...
And then you have the what now feeling.
Yeah, and in boxing, of course, it's difficult because we come from very hyper-masculine worlds, right? And oftentimes I think it's frowned upon to talk about things that probably logically or pragmatically make a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense that if I have an athlete that is enjoying his journey, that's enjoying getting there.
You're talking about, like, when I talk about my depression in boxing circles.
Yeah. I don't think...
It's almost like I'm wearing a big hat that says I'm a loser.
Right. Like, this is fucking crazy.
Like, I have brought up depression in the gym.
Yeah.
And it's like crickets.
Well, because
it's like, what are you talking about? You're always on.
You get a guy, you have to always be on, right?
Right.
This is the word professional, which is what's the difference between an amateur and a professional? I think the sort of sentiment that we hear the most is that the difference between an amateur and a professional is that if something really, really bad happens with an amateur, they're probably going to let that affect them. If something happens really, really bad with a professional, the show must go on. And the show goes on to a level of, an expectation that a professional is there to be able to deliver, right? The demands of a professional fighter versus the demands of an amateur fighter, when you've got money on the board, on the table, I should say, and you're looking at it as, this is the way that I put a roof over my head, this is the way that I feed myself, or I feed my children, or I feed other people in my life that need from me.
I can't speak to that because I have no idea what that level is like.
It's still you don't.
But I gotta imagine the pressure is even harder.
You also don't like mediocrity. Like you're not a mediocre individual. I train you. You know.
I'm trying.
I see you work. I know that you'll tediously do a drill over and over again, even if it's just boring the shit out of you. Most people aren't cut from that cloth.
You were making fun of me earlier when we were doing some of the pre footage that when we were making smoothies about. You are such a planner or something.
Yes,
and I had to admit, I wasn't always that way.
Yeah.
But the reason why I'm trying to do that myself is because mediocrity scares me. Like I want to achieve my goals.
Yeah.
And I actually grew up with this. I'm afraid to use the saying "chip on my shoulder" because I'm actually. It's so funny. You go through your whole life like hearing something, and I'm not actually sure what that means, but I'm gonna make an attempt. I was the smallest kid in my family.
There's something to prove.
I was always the most mediocre. My brother Eamon's the best athlete in the family. Mm-hmm. Miranda's probably the second.
Yeah.
Conlon's a better rugby player than me. So. Nella's the smartest in fact. But the thing is, I always had I don't know. Maybe boxing was the reason. Maybe that was why I filtered to boxing because I sure as hell wasn't going to get any playing time on the football team at Loyola. Mm-hmm. Boxing was you can't get benched. You can't get benched. You can't get benched in boxing. That's my coach can't take me out because guess what? I'm going to get a fight. I may be in a tough fight and I may be taking blows and not having much rest from that. But, Yeah. But I'm not getting replaced.
It's also that those guys on the bench that they're encountering timeouts and they're encountering being on the bench and they're encountering there are no moments of the end zone for a fighter, right? I mean, at the end of the fight, but not during the fight. But I think as a fighter, as people from boxing, which you and I are, that this sense of biological determinism, this very Darwinian sort of thing really exists. Which is every day you're in the gym, and whether it's being discussed or not, there's a pretty good idea of a reference of what mediocrity means in that gym. Mediocrity, in fact, means in a gym,
I've had
an ass whooping, right?
Right.
I mean, if you have a mediocre approach to your craft, if you have a mediocre approach as a fighter to your drills or your ritual when you hit the gym. You're sparring whether or not you're on point and your focus, that mediocrity doesn't just lead to something that you see for the most part in the world, which is just to be moved. Most people are just moved by, right? They're just passed on by. That mediocrity, in fact, can translate into you hitting the canvas. It's a very much, So I think as fighters,
the scarier part is that it doesn't have to be the mediocrity that can put you on the canvas. Sometimes. You could be as prepared as ever.
Yeah.
And a good shot wipes your nose.
A good shot around,
and puts you in the canvas too.
But
which is part of the beauty of boxing, but it also just goes to that pressure that we're always under.
I think that I hate to bring up this guy's name, but Malcolm McAllister fought at the OC Fight Club. And
so tell me actually about how it went down because he had
fought a guy named Rowdy. I could look up his last name. I can't believe I don't know his last name. I watched both of them fight as amateurs in the early 2000s. Or not early 2000s, but like 2011 to 2014 or something. 15 probably makes sense. And I knew that I'd watched Rowdy. I had a fighter fight Malcolm a couple of times. So I knew that they were both fighters. But I only bring it up because Malcolm had actually used to train at Jackrabbits. And, I had to watch Malcolm get all the way to 9-0, which is no easy right. feat within itself. He had great people behind him, and they were giving him the right advice and making sure that he was having the right looks at the right times. He'd also had fought on TV, right? So you can imagine the pressure of fighting on TV. You're not just fighting underneath the lights; you're fighting televised. And I was there when he fought Cordell Booker in New York at the Barclays in Brooklyn. I wasn't in the corner. I just was in New York at the time living, and I saw him lose that fight to Cordell. The fight's not on YouTube. I don't know why they never put it out there, but was one of the most craziest fights that I've ever seen. When you think about fight of the year, how many fights could be fight of the year that we just don't see, that are not televised, the fight between Malcolm McAllister and Cordell could have been fight of the year. Cordell Booker from Brooklyn. And it was interesting because when a fighter fights and loses, I think the first thing that a trainer thinks about is where are they going to go with their career now, and are they going to be able to bounce back from this loss? Well, Malcolm had gotten a call from the television show, The Contender. And, which is also another huge opportunity, and to be, once again, underneath the lights, to be televised. And he took that, and he had taken another loss in the show. And, subsequently got kicked off the show. And in the finale, and I'm leaving a lot of things out.
Was this, he fought Michael Moore?
Mm-hmm.
On the LADC Studios, that must be it.
And then in the finale, they brought him back to fight the Russian.
Yeah,
right at the Forum. And now he was 9-3. This is all happening over the course of a year or two, right?
He's already on the card for
he's got a fight coming up in November.
So he's just going through it.
Yeah. So, but the reason why I bring it up, because he also took a loss against Rowdy. What's Rowdy's last name?
Rowdy Legend Montgomery.
And he's at.
So his first name is Rowdy?
Yeah, 6-2 now or 7-2?
6-2.
6-2. Okay. So
he's old, kind of.
Yeah, he's older, sure, like 34, 35.
33, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing about this is that, I often wonder, and I've suspected, even with fighters that I had been training at the time, I'm not going to say any names, but fighters that had big, huge televised bouts, that did they make decisions knowing the expectation of a loss? And did they make decisions that probably weren't the best for their career at that time, because they were almost building subconsciously or consciously a scapegoat, right? Like this expectation that you might possibly lose, and maybe perhaps to look back in it when your career is done and say, oh, I should have taken my career more serious. The only reason why I bring it up is that the training that Malcolm McAllister had, and this is very awkward for me.
Before which fight?
For the last couple of fights.
Because he's at that.
Yeah.
United.
Yeah, it's not United. Those people are great. It's that he had ended up training with his brother. Right?
Oh, okay.
And who I actually like as a person, but I don't. When you have a fighter that hasn't,
it's not quite up to a professional standard.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that when it comes time to have a show on TV, when it comes time to really be underneath the lights, let me tell you from being there still just a handful of times, it's a different feeling entirely. There's this invisible veil of pressure, right? You could just feel it like build up on your shoulders, and you're not the fighter. And I could tell you that what helped pacify the situation for me, and maybe, or help me feel more comfortable is probably more appropriate, was being in these situations with people like Jesse Reed, who had 23 world champions who trained Johnny Tapia and Hector Camacho and Roger Mayweather and Bruce Curry and Orlando Canizales and so on and so on and so on. I knew that they had been there before, and when you're now you have a brother that was training Malcolm McAllister, JJ McAllister, and these fights are very important for Malcolm's career. These are make and break fights that are going to, more or less are going to define whether or not he's going to have a career or not.
Just mathematically how it works out, it's time to get a win ASAP.
So
going into that fight,
otherwise,
he's 9-3, now he's 9-4.
The reason I bring
fighting this fast at Hawaiian Gardens,
it might not be the best look.
I
know that he got cut.
It doesn't seem necessary.
Fight. But not to say that anybody locally should have trained him, but I'm just saying that when you have so much on the line and you're looking back at your career and decisions got made, sometimes I do believe there can be some self-sabotaging that goes on. And I often, Jesse Reed had told me one time with a fighter that I had, or we had, not to say his name, but he said that he didn't believe that the fighter loved himself.
I remember you telling me about
that. He did not believe that the fighter loved himself. Because I don't know if he loves himself. And when he told me that, I sat there. I literally, to be honest with you, kind of threw me back. But like everything,
that's some wise old man shit, though.
Like,
something that we wouldn't even think about.
I wouldn't have thought. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought. I think about it now. I
Right.
think about watching these young men spar every day and which lovers love
Well,
or which fighters
I'll
love
tell you
themselves.
what. You going back to this discussion around mental health, like a couple months ago, I hated myself.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not conducive to boxing.
I'm doing a lot better now,
Yeah.
and I'm happier now, and and a lot of that has to do with the endorphins. You know,
Yeah, well-
this building, setting a goal, getting towards it, letting that positive vibes building on it, then also connecting with other people who are doing similar things. Trying to be a little less self-centered and thinking about myself all the time, and then in doing so, when shit hits the fan, thinking of like how, you know, like your small world's crumbling, but rather than focusing on the negative, being in my own head,
So
trying to get more involved with the rest of the gym. And,
this is shit that everyday folks are dealing with, right?
right. But if we don't talk about it, we don't necessarily know we're all struggling
between
with it.
you and everyday folks is that everyday folks aren't firing off 15 or 18 rounds a week, right?
Yeah.
They're not getting in there. And why it's important when Jesse says that he didn't think that he loved himself, is that I think that when you're in that ring, and I actually know in my heart to believe this is true, when you're in that ring and you don't love yourself, subconsciously it's going to show up when someone is whooping that ass. And you're probably going to, you know, the likelihood that you're okay with that whooping is probably going to grow exponentially, right? Because you're not thinking to yourself like, I can't let this happen to me. Like, there's no way I'm not going to deal with this. Like, I'm better than this. Fuck that. I'm fighting back. I'm going to let my hands go. You don't have that motherfucker moment, which every fighter has, like, motherfucker. And you let it go. And being in those situations, which I'm sure you have, when shit is kind of not going your way in life and you're getting hit, there's two things that happen. I've had it where, like, I let that beast sort of feel, and I fought, or, you know, I let my hands go. But that's just based upon bravado. I also seen that crash because I'm still dealing with this fact that at that particular time, I might not have loved myself. And there's been other times where I felt really, really good about myself. And someone, you know, gets overly aggressive. They start letting their hands go. And guess what? For me, I'm not taking that shit. And I'm sure you're the same way.
Yeah.
Mental health is not just this thing with like where you end up hearing that, you know, a fighter like Johnny Tapia, since we mentioned him, who struggled so much with addiction. Yeah. And obviously had struggled with a lot of things that had happened personally in his life that I'd heard firsthand from Jesse. But also just, it's not just, that's clearly we can take a measurement of what addiction is and how society sees that as a whole. But it's also, we're not looking at where those seeds disseminate into the fabric of his being and his character. And that is to say that, you know, it is very important for any fighter out there to be in good mental health.
Yeah.
I liked Tyson Fury. I actually loved Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
For bringing it up.
Yeah.
And being a pioneer. Because I really can't reference anybody in the past, and maybe you can, that was strong enough and bold enough to say, hey, like you said, I did all this work. I had this vision. His vision was to be the world champion. He was locked in on Vladimir Klitschko. That's what his goal was. And he's seeing that every day, and he's that's the reason why he's showing up, and that's the reason why he's hitting that pavement and he's running those miles, and that's the reason why he's wrapping up and he's hitting that bag, and that's the reason why he can, you know, the damn sweat is getting in his eyes and it's stinging, and he keeps on sparring, and he's waking up every day and his body is sore as hell, and that's the reason why he's in there, and you can taste the blood in his mouth and he's sweating, and his clothes smell like shit. It's because why? Because he can have that goal, and all of a sudden he becomes a heavyweight champion of the world. He boxes the shit out of Vladimir Klitschko. He puts a clinic on him, and he crashes. And he puts on what I believe was like 150 pounds, something crazy. Yeah. And he's doing cocaine. And he's, you know, I guess, and you know, he's married, but he's acting out with bouts of infidelity, and there's women, and he's just trying to do anything that he can to make himself feel better. But it's not to say that that's not a narrative that we haven't seen play out in movies or that we haven't heard from fighters before. What made Tyson Fury incredible was that he was strong enough to come out in the open and say,
bring it up. Yeah.
This is real.
Yeah.
We're not talking about this. Can't be the only guy that is doing it. Can't just be on the can't just be on the championship level either.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. Anybody that says, "Hey, this is," well, maybe it's because
like what I was talking about. What I was talking about. Like, I'm 1-1. I got knocked out in my last fight. When I talk about my depression, it really sounds like, oh, this is coming from a loser's mentality.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
That I hear that.
But
shit.
but what I'm really doing is, I'm actually recently when it's come up between you and me in our private conversation, it's been around the sense of, God damn, this shit's working. You know.
Yeah.
We're when I say we, I'm talking about, you know, just the royal we, but we're working on our goals and we're getting better, and I feel better, and not having, you know, not giving my time away to a job I hate, and now actually working toward a goal I have is getting me back to that place where I feel like I'm at peace and I'm happier, and the rest of my life is sort of just
because
clicking.
They're intertwined.
Right.
The same thing for me. But
that's why it's hard.
Jesse saying that.
That's why it's hard because we applaud the champion for doing it, but that's why it's hard to do it at the lower level, because
you don't get the accolades.
The funny thing is, like, when you talk about depression, and then you find out that so many people you know
are
also
depressed.
you start to realize that, like, this isn't a very unique thing for yourself.
Society is
so the whole time that you were hushing about it wasn't necessary. Let's work this out. Let's talk. Let's put in some miles and let's get those endorphins back. You know, I don't know any other cure than that.
Yeah.
I have done therapy, and I thought that was good, and we've talked about it on the show before. I have been on medications before. The only thing that really truly works though is putting in miles, getting those endorphins going. Honestly, sometimes it's sparring too, but the twist of that is if you're not on your game, you get fucked up, and that doesn't really help.
Yeah,
right.
Does not help.
But sometimes you're on fire, and it's weird that you say this, because I had been at times in my life, I had been kind of a little bit masochistic where I'm like, fuck, I deserve this.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't cut myself.
Yeah,
but I would be welcoming a punch and think to myself, yeah, you damn fucking bastard, fucking idiot.
Right. And nobody knows this unless you're from that world, right? I mean, you can imagine other people are having shit like this happen to them. Maybe they're driving the car and they do something stupid, like, you know, they run into somebody else, or not somebody else, but somebody else's car, right? Or
fender bender. Yeah.
Fender bender. Or they do something happens to them, and it might even be something as silly as a bird shits on them, right? I mean, this is humans. And like, they're thinking, like you said, they're having that masochism. They're thinking, hey, I've somehow brought this into my universe because of how it is that I'm feeling and what it, you know, whatever vibrations that I'm resonating. This is my energy, right? And, you know, I don't know, man.
I remember a cultural moment. It was in humor, but there was this phrase like that came about. I think it was in the movie Superbad, where the guy like drops that thing, like somebody like explodes like a can at that liquor store, and like the disgruntled underpaid employee who's like the janitor just goes, "Fuck my life."
Yeah, fuck my life.
And I remember
FML is over some real shit.
And then I remember though, in a somewhat of a humorous way, somewhat of like this dry sort of depression humor subgenre of internet culture. Fuck my life became like this large thing for the many,
which is crazy when you think about it.
But
right?
but when you see a trend like that of whether that be like a hashtag or just a type of comedic relief about the things you're going through, you know that it's trending for a reason. Like,
I mean, you can't be the only one that's going through it. The only difference is that your ass is in a ring. And when the moment when a bird shitting on me versus, you know, someone hits me with the right hand, and I have a decision to make to let my fucking hands go or to shell the fuck up and take the next 4 or 6. One of them is hey, a bird shit on me, pass me a brawny paper towel and some water and let me fix this. The other one is like, oh wow, man, I think I fractured my ribs, right? Or like, you know, you get hit with the one shot and all of a sudden, wow, I'm pretty sure that's blood I taste. It's different. But no, it's something that, not to say that it's any worse. Listen. I don't know. Is there any statistical numbers that say that fighters commit suicide at a higher rate? I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I do think that fighters are so wired for fight and flight. You know, the
peaks and valleys of life.
Just a reflex, right? That, especially for fight, that you're wired differently when you're doing this crazy primal shit that most people don't do. Beating on a human, beating on a bag, hitting pads, sprints, running. I mean, it's like literally we take a fighter and we throw them back, 10 centuries, maybe more. And we introduce something that's so lost in us.
Like when Ivan comes and does that thing to beat on your
with the sticks. And you can there's
people,
a lot of sadism.
After that video that people posted, a bunch of people had an opinion to tell me of why are you doing that? It doesn't actually help you build your abs. And I had to explain to him, well, I'll be honest, I don't know why we're doing it.
Mental fortitude.
But he wanted to make sure I could stand it.
Yeah.
So I did it. And my coach told me to do it,
right.
and I did it.
Yeah.
And there's plenty in boxing. There's plenty of things that we do that are backwards and a little bit old school technology wise. Yeah. The types of runs we're doing maybe aren't the best for your physical peak fitness.
We were joking about your boots the other day. Remember?
Right, the boots. Yeah.
We said Sugar Ray Robinson used to, and Muhammad Ali, they used to run in those boots, those heavy ass.
Yeah. Because I had some steel toes.
Yeah, steel toe boots.
After I changed out from my clothes.
There is no doubt that is bad for.
But it's just
your body.
We're just building grit.
But it is incredible for grit.
Sometimes. I mean, we shouldn't be running these 10-mile runs either for boxing, probably.
No.
But what we're trying to do is make sure that we can do them.
That feeling when you're in a
10-mile
run, which I'm sure you've had before, just like you're sparring 10 rounds.
What do you think round 6 is going to feel like in a 10-round fight?
When they've ran, I've only had this feeling twice in my life, ever. There's that feeling that comes in when I'm running. I think the longest distance I ever ran was 13 miles. And but I did it a couple times. But
you're one of those cats that has a 3.1 sticker on your car.
Nah, but I'm talking about.
I mean, a 13.1 sticker.
I've only had this like feeling twice in my, or 2 times I can sort of reference, although not just twice in my life, but the same themes. When you're sparring a lot, you're like doing like 10 rounds, you're like, fuck, I could go back out there. And when you're running 8 or 10 miles, like, God, I ran 5 miles this way, and I got to run 5 miles back to get my ass back to the car, or back home, or back to wherever you started. And that's that power of that damn long run for a fighter.
But I love that. I love that.
No,
trick,
it's great.
That trick that you play on yourself. Well, you're not going to get there any faster if you take a break. So you better get home.
If I run across some dickhead from fucking 24-hour fitness,
you can't do that at the treadmill. That's why
Lifetime Fitness or the fucking Renaissance Fitness, whatever the fuck it is, some asshole that knows nothing about mental fortitude and grit. And he's saying, well, glycogen and, peak performance and optimal flexibility and all this shit that they're talking to you about, right? And and I'm looking at him like, yeah, motherfucker, but will kills all that.
Yeah. You can have a good muscle form, but if you don't have...
Will is a fucking equalizer.
Yeah.
Period.
If you don't have the mental toughness to survive the fight, then we're not going to...
And so when Ivan is hitting you with the stick, which he did for a pretty long time, I watched him, like as long as he has...
I did until he was done. I stayed,
You know that part of that is just, man, this really fucking hurts and stings. It's not
just forget about it. Just don't think about it.
Listen, Ivan did it with Usher, the R&B star.
Yeah.
Usher had here's Usher. We see Usher probably, I don't know. I'm assuming he performed at the Super Bowl. I know that he's probably been on Saturday Night Live a couple of times. The guy's been
he's done some things.
He's been at the top of his shit. Opened up for Madison Square Garden. I'm sure, sold out venues all over the world. But he couldn't take the fucking stick for 5 seconds, right? If you don't believe me, check out the Instagram, LB Jackrabbit Boxing. It's there. So I got you and I got him. And I'm just talking to 2 assholes that have no idea what it's like to be a fucking fighter. And I say, well, so who has more mental fortitude? Usher or Garrity? And those guys are going to probably say Usher because they don't fucking get it. Like, right? I mean, my man is in a room full of people and was over it in 5 seconds.
Just the humiliation is enough to keep you going.
You get people involved in boxing are off. They're different. And they're driven by some shit.
And we started this weight loss challenge as this kind of joke and a fun piece of content that we can put on our channel. Yeah. But part of it is this accountability of broadcasting to a large audience makes you put results out. Like,
I mean,
I don't want to fail this thing. Well, I have a fight coming up.
You have a fight coming up.
You have a plate of tacos.
I have a plate of tacos with very hot sauce.
With hot sauce coming when I beat you. But I can't.
But you
come fight time, I can't screw up and
it's a
shuffle away.
Scenario to watch.
So people are watching.
Everybody says Garrity's getting in better shape, man. He's leaner. He's looking good. There's something that I can quantify or something that I can measure, which is opinions in the gym or what people are saying, right? You know it too. Sometimes the fighter, like I said, doesn't know. But I mean, back to I sometimes we think about how many fighters and also how prevalent depression is in society, and like you said, it's so often you hear about it all the time. And I often wonder if innately, if we don't just know that something isn't, maybe something that's going on now is wrong. Like that it's making so many people feel like they're inadequate. And I don't know.
I don't know.
It's not just boxers.
It might be something about modern society though, because when our problems were bigger as humans, like the feelings of inadequacy was at the like. You're never getting to that feeling because like you were just working so hard to survival or whatever the time period being. You had such a bigger problem. Now in modern society, most things work.
Well,
like, I mean, life is pretty good for most people.
Life is really good, right? We got.
Life is really damn good for
especially
most
for the
people.
Western world. Is incredible.
If we're in the United States, life is great.
Yeah.
So your brain has the time. Has the opportunity to find its suffering in these other things, these feelings of inadequacy, these. I
thought about this the other day when I was driving. It kind of came up after I had talked to you because we were talking openly. You and I will talk about depression sometimes, right? And I thought about the fact that society, culture, that agriculture and agrarian societies, right? Agrarian. Yeah. I didn't go to school. Remember a professor? I didn't hear a professor say it. I read it.
Agrarian is one of those words you only hear when it's like the model of agrarian.
I sometimes think I got fucked because I didn't hear a professor say it, but I read it in a book. So like my interpretation of it was agrarian.
I didn't hear a professor say it. I heard a high school teacher say it.
Is that I didn't go to that prestigious ass high
school.
But anyways, back to what I was saying. That because of aqueducts and agriculture, that all of a sudden, when you have this emerge in humanity as a whole, you have populations that are not migrating all the time.
Right.
And
not the same pace.
That you can actually settle down in the same place. And then if all of a sudden
we let some of Earth work for us.
So we know what Maslow's law of hierarchy of needs are. So we can also know that it probably fucking sucks to be more or less like a transient all the time, right? It's got to be a horrible experience. Like to think about where's my next meal coming from? Can I put, do I have a roof over my head?
Not to unnecessarily bring it back to boxing, but think about the traveler community. When I say traveler, I mean
the gypsies. Yeah.
There's a reason why they are the way they are. That experience they've had for so many generations is tough, and that's made these guys tough and wild.
Gypsies can fight, man.
And
like
that's why they have that.
Favorite fighters out of Europe are gypsies. Like, so Tyson Fury. Yeah, Billy. So, but no, thinking about that.
You think Billy, quick, I want you to go right back to it, but you think Billy has a chance to beat Canelo? I think at middleweight, he's probably the most dangerous middleweight.
There's a lot of factors. Is it a big
Sans
ring?
Canelo, he's the most.
Billy to me is a one-trick pony, if we're looking at it. The one trick is an incredible movement, great reflexes. Great time.
That's already two tricks.
Great. No, but I'm saying it's still the same consciousness.
Okay, but
here's how
that's developed. That's developed. One trick pony is a guy who has one badass punch.
Listen to your trainer on this. There's consciousnesses, right?
Yeah.
So I can have somebody that can be physical, somebody that can be mean, somebody that can be slick, somebody that
he's slick. I get you.
Go out there. Can you tell me he's a mean guy? Maybe. Can you look at me and say Billy is a physical guy? I'd say, well, how? Can you
get you.
Can you tell me he's a pressure guy? No. Canelo
can be
a myriad of
we've seen different Canelos over the years.
He comes in with different consciousness Like, so when I say he's a one trick pony, he's a very slick fighter. But I think about a smaller ring, which might get set up because no matter what, Canelo's the A side. They say they get a little bit of ring that's a little bit smaller, and they don't give him a big ring.
The Canelo knows how to turn it into a Mexican standoff.
Canelo is going to get to him.
Yeah.
And he's got a quick first step. He's incredible with pressure. He's not dumb. He's gotten much better at tracking opponents. He's not just going to let you skirt
bring
on
it back
us.
to the old days.
He's not going to have his Larry too. He learns from his lessons. Canelo in his heart knows that he lost the Lara fight. I really believe that. I believe that's what makes him so good. Just like I believe that Floyd probably thinks in his heart that he lost Castillo one. That made him.
Floyd's a smart guy.
Smart. He knows. He knows boxing.
Yeah.
You know.
I think he is such a confident guy that he can.
He knows he got the look from the A side.
But he knows.
Yeah.
What's happening?
He knows what happened. He's okay, but he got the right look. And listen, there's nothing taking away from Floyd's legacy. I mean, shit. That's also saying this is the politics of boxing, and also this is the reality of boxing. But back to consciousness. Do I think that he could do it? I don't think so. I got Canelo. But I think
before I interrupted with the gypsy talk, you were on something good.
Yeah, so more or less we're talking about. We got onto consciousness, but yeah, we're talking about depression. We're talking about societies, agriculture, aqueducts, and so forth. Because people could sit in the same place, I guess I kind of just jumped the assumption that all of a sudden we were able to sit in the same place. All of a sudden, class.
We have time to worry about things that aren't food.
The shit. All of a sudden, we have time for more religion.
Yeah.
We have time for more classism. We have time. We have time to where hierarchies are going to establish themselves, and that probably the descendants of that hierarchy that established itself is also going to reap the benefits and rewards of whatever it is that their parents did, right? Mm-hmm. And especially then we have time for mercantile industry.
But let me throw something else out there.
Yeah, maybe there's a happy medium, but I don't think this is it. You ever notice like it's?
I don't know if I'm jumping around here, but you talked about how classism exists, and
yeah, I'm sure.
I'm gonna find one example I know pretty well.
Uh-huh.
I was a benefactor of good parents, education,
but not really nepotism. I mean, you went to the ports. I mean, shit.
What I'm
kid it. I mean, for people that don't know,
you just like.
I mean,
that's nepotism exhibit A. But
because
my
your
point was
father knew somebody at the ports.
Yeah, but I wasn't talking about the job.
Yeah, okay.
I was talking about. I think you were saying something about classism and descendants of those who have made it, and they can get that upper hand. I'm not gonna try to hide behind the fact that I had a very privileged life, and I do have a privileged life, and I use that to my advantage, and I've been able to build off that, and I had huge opportunities with education and whatnot.
I don't think you're.
But here's the deal.
You're privileged life right now.
Here's the deal.
You do what you need to make money.
What is it that weird thing I still have in me that wants to still fight, even though I'm not supposed to be fighting? Because let's face it, I'm a rich kid from a class of society that isn't meant to be fighting for $800.
Yeah. So let me.
So what the fuck is wrong with me that I still want to do this?
Let me intervene first of all. You're not a rich kid. Yeah.
My kids will be rich kids.
You're not in the 1/3 of the 1%. Your father isn't.
Right? I don't know. I don't know.
You guys have.
But that's not the point.
You don't have generational wealth, as far as I know. I have seen no signs of it.
True. But
do you guys have Van Goghs and Picassos?
No. My point being that.
Yeah. But
I don't want to be one of these. I don't want to be one of these fakes that pretends that he didn't have the upper hand of good education.
You're definitely a beneficiary of your good education.
And I've taken a benefit from all of these things.
Yeah, but even with that, like you're looking.
So I'm not hiding behind that. Like, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of phonies out there.
Your father's a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so just to be honest with you, like your dad could be is if we're looking at social class as a whole, your father is just at the hierarchy of the service industry. He offers a service, right?
Right.
Your father, as far as I know, there's no trust attached to your dad, right? Your dad, it's not a trust fund baby, right?
My dad?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I'm not either.
There we go. So your dad's not a trust
My
fund.
grandpa's a fireman.
Oh, you
Great pension.
which is probably one of the most
Great pension.
It's like a civic,
Doing good.
blue collar
Everything's good.
job.
Yeah.
It's like being a police officer, right? Civil service.
These things change fast over a couple of generations. That's the beauty of it.
But I think what you are doing is it's a misinterpretation of what wealth is.
Okay.
Your father was diligent,
potential,
enough and disciplined enough, and understood his vision, and probably was pretty good in academics.
Yeah.
To make it to law school, to graduate, I don't know if you had to pass the bar back then or there was LSAT. I have no idea what the process was.
The bar, yeah.
So, and ends up, and he works hard, and he's personable, and I know that he moves up and does pretty good, right? Well, you guys are still in San Pedro, right? Your father's in San Pedro. The house is down the street, right? You guys are not in Bel Air.
Thank
right?
God.
As far as I know,
I love it. I love San Pedro.
As far as I know, your parents have vacation homes.
No.
Have your parents ever used have they ever used a season as a verb? Like where do you winter? Where do you winter? Where do you summer at?
All right, so
no, but because I think that because you're looking at this thing, it's like, well, what do you have to fight for?
Don't turn this. What I was trying to do was I was trying to thank my privilege.
You're trying to self-loathe, and I'm not going to let you because the people that we really want to self-loathe aren't, I hate to say it, but just a really solid middle class. That's what your father is, just a very solid middle class. He's not, as far.
I'm trying to show appreciation right now.
No, which is
in a
good.
Public setting. I don't want you to be. I don't want you to be embarrassing my dad in front of all of his friends.
No, well, not middle class, but
he's about to go and meet all his buddies.
I also think that in some ways, that because of the way that
it's like we say in boxing.
But I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something really important. I think it's actually pretty important to get out there.
All right.
And it's just coming to me right now. In some ways, how we look at social class in society, even if you're a lawyer or you're a doctor or you're a physician or even a surgeon, that it pacifies the actual reality of wealth accumulation in the Western world or wealth accumulation in the world in its entirety. Which is to say that if you have middle class people that are experiencing some sort of anxiety or they might even feel apathetic for those that are in the lower class from them, that it actually distracts them to see what the reality is, which is they themselves are no beneficiary of generational wealth, that they are no way entitled to being an oligarch or to have real power and influence in the society, that they're very, very far from the 1/3 of the 1%, that they have no access to $100 million yachts, that they don't spend $150,000 on a 5-day retreat, that they don't have Vincent van Gogh hanging in the entryway of their home. And so you've got middle class people like you, and it's not just with you, because it's themes that I see that are being pushed a lot in academia, which is like this idea of like social class privilege. But I can tell you who doesn't express resent for their social class privilege. I have a whole bunch. There's probably a bunch of middle class people that's like, my dad was a doctor, my dad was a lawyer, my dad was a CFO, my dad was an accountant. But you find me the people that are like, my dad was founded Chase Manhattan Group.
Well, that guy's dead. But.
Yeah, well, JP Moore. But I'm just saying, his descendants aren't dead.
Right.
The people from the Hearst family are not dead. You find me those people. You find me the people that actually hold influence in this world.
Those people don't talk about that until you get to the Hamptons.
Yeah, they're
club
not
until you're really in the circle. With
they're
them.
Sitting on boards, making decisions, basically reaping the rewards of a whole bunch of people that are feeling apathetic towards one another, or not. I mean, the middle class is feeling. But the truth is that like, no, you're not. It's crazy to me because.
So, is Floyd Mayweather a 1%er?
No, give me a break. Floyd's not a 1%er. If he is 1%er,
do his kids become 1%er?
No.
And that has everything to do with the way you obtain the money?
No, it has nothing to do with obtaining the money. Floyd is very.
You're saying from a mathematical point, he still doesn't have enough.
When William Randolph Hearst passes away, the Hearst family is still the 17th most wealthiest family in America. It's because they still all those things.
Take a step back. Hearst is the guy. He has a famous Hearst Castle in California.
Citizen
what
Kane.
was he famous for?
He was more or less like a magnet for
just an industrialist back in the day?
Not industrial so much as journalism.
Oh, he was the Rupert Murdoch of the day.
Yeah, he was a Rupert Murdoch of his day.
Okay.
That's perfect. That's a perfect description. You look at Hearst, and his family's still the 17th most wealthiest family in America, right? When Floyd passes away, and Floyd's not, there's no. If you look at what their holdings are, which are public, which are being traded on the stock market and so forth, and what it is the family still vested in, or the fact that the Hearst family actually still owns a portion of the estate of the.
But I don't see why Floyd can't do that.
Well,
Floyd can build an empire right now.
No.
Yes, he can.
So how's he going to build commerce? His only success at commerce has been his fights. It's him fighting. That's unfortunate. That's his economic model. TMT is not going to turn into $1 billion company.
He can deploy all that capital into other investments right now. He can deploy all that into apartment buildings, into he could put a certain amount of it into a well-performing hedge fund. He could put.
I totally agree. But unlike them, there's a difference, right? You have people that when wealth becomes generational, and the investments have already been made, and all the capital's already been displaced. You have families that are living off the principal.
Right.
Floyd is still susceptible.
Like we say, there's levels to this shit. I understand how much richer, but
if Floyd were to take his $1 billion and he goes out there and he does a lot of things, you don't have 3 or 4 generations in that have created this. That the wealth. Also taking inflation. We're also thinking of one thing. The wealth is in a fixed state, right? So if you look at J.P. Morgan, or you look at the Rockefellers, you look at the Rothschilds, whatever, Vanderbilts, Carnegies, and so forth, that the wealth goes up in value as time goes on as well. That what was once worth $150,000 might be worth $1.5 million, and what was $1.5 million was $50 million, and so forth, right? That it continues to go on. Floyd can put himself in a position, and let's just say, but it's really, for me, it's almost like what you say is a reflection of this narrative, which is very intoxicating, which is the American dream, to believe that Floyd could ever actually put himself in that even a guy that's worth $1 billion could easily put himself in a position to be a generational wealth family. Like I'd say, with a few exceptions of men like Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg and so forth, which was an emerging thing, which was the technology. That if we're looking at, technology also probably being this
was a catalyst moment.
Yeah. Exactly. Culture
for wealth
change.
creation.
For wealth creation, right?
And it's a different hockey stick than a boxing career.
Yeah, a different
right.
Way. But
and the different scalability when Amazon.com is than a boxing career.
Yeah, but I bring it all this up.
But I still believe that Floyd Mayweather could produce generational wealth for his family.
I think
it's about the choices of where the money's being spent.
I'm sure that Floyd is heavily invested in stuff, right? I'm sure that he has great investments. Floyd's not no dummy. I know that Warren Buffett was around him, whatever, right? It's not. But
was he? I think it was Crawford.
No, Buffett was around Floyd too. So
they seem very different. I mean, they're very.
I mean, but even
Crawford and.
Either both from Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, they got that, and they're simple.
They got that Midwest thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's also like I think this premise of even the way that we've been sort of how Warren Buffett is pushed off to the Western world, to us, and how we look at him. It's like, hey, everyone's gonna look at Warren Buffett, and there's going to be this. I think it's just so funny. I think it's actually cute how people can get sort of. Bamboozled, I guess. It's like we're looking at this guy. He's so frugal. He has the same vehicle that he's had for whatever it is the last 30 years. He lives in the same home that he lives in. He actually doesn't care about the wealth that he's accumulated. He's going to leave it to philanthropy when he passes away. He only does it because he likes the game. These are things that are said about Warren Buffett. You got society looking at Warren Buffett, right? And then you have
what it is that Warren Buffett's a value investor, so that's easy to describe to the masses.
Yeah, but
what value investing is buying.
Yeah, like
buying an undervalued company, holding it for 30 years. That's something that people can understand.
I was in the grocery store and I saw pantyhose. I saw legs pantyhose, and thought, oh God, that's a great. This is Warren Buffett shit, right?
I mean, that's something you heard on today or something.
No, I mean, I like everybody else. I went down this window of like, hey, how to make it in America type shit, right? Where you end up going, well, this time I'm going to make it on America. I'm going to look at the icons of industry or the icons of social mobility, the people that made it. And you're like, oh, well, Warren Buffett was savvy enough to be inside of a grocery store and to see the metallic packaging for pantyhose. And that made him go invest in pantyhose. I mean, you can look it up, right? So just go Warren Buffett pantyhose.
But I think people eat up anecdotal.
It's just anecdotal bullshit. It's like
things,
we're gonna
look
at.
Don't understand that.
We're gonna look at Warren
financial
Buffett
principles behind it.
But we're not gonna talk about. We're not gonna talk about who owns the boats that are worth like $150 million sitting off those islands in Europe, or we're not talking about the amount of wealth that is in the Hamptons. And so Americans are sort of taught to look at this thing which is really a facade. Any American that believes that the majority of wealth is like Warren Buffett in the United States of America and is frugal, you don't need to look farther than the 45th, the American president, someone whose office was supposedly adorned in gold. He had gold fixtures all over the place, and supposedly had a golden toilet. It doesn't get any more repulsive. Than a golden toilet.
You live in Orange County, so you've seen.
Oh, but this is what I'm saying.
But
again.
You've seen.
But your bullshit. No, nobody has a golden toilet in Orange County. That's where you're wrong, and that's why I think that
they got some nice places.
That's how a guy can sit like you and you can sit, Garrity. You can sit in your chair and you can think that you're actually like relating to some of this wealth because your dad maybe made partner at a law firm. I don't know, but let me tell you, your father is probably far from guys that have golden toilets or can bankrupt a whole city like Atlantic City, like the 45th president did. He bankrupted the whole goddamn city, right? Or they can fix currencies abroad.
Yeah.
Who's the guy that everybody makes out to be a villain?
Soros.
George Soros.
Trader,
right.
Yeah.
So you look at George Soros has so much power that he can actually cripple economies throughout the world. And you're like, hey man, I went to this really nice high school in Los Angeles, which, by the way, is no different than modern day in Santa Ana in Orange County. And I ended up going to Notre Dame. The difference between you going to Notre Dame.
So I was trying to be humble. Now you're kicking me.
I'm saying like as if we're looking at, I'm trying to figure out why people are depressed all the time.
Yeah.
What it is that people.
Because we don't love ourselves.
Even with the yoga shit.
We don't feel like we deserve it.
The yoga, like everybody getting into yoga and everybody gets into meditation. Everybody gets into these really. Cliche tropes.
How about the gratitude journals on social media? Everyone's posted a gratitude journal, which it's a good idea.
It's a good thing.
Gratitude, but what it has become for a lot of people I've seen is they're writing down in their gratitude journal. But what it is like a humble brag of a flex of all the things I'm grateful for, and then you just list off the things that you have.
I think
in life that you're proud of.
If I see people, I saw somebody do it today. I like the guy a lot. He's actually pretty successful at what he does. And God, the guy's a good guy, but I seen him put this thing up. And I thought to myself, you put it on Instagram, and I thought to myself, man, I couldn't just like put out, people put their list of their desires. These are the things I'm going to manifest in a year.
How old is this guy though?
He's probably about 30.
Yeah. So, once you get older, sometimes people post weirder.
But I'm not talking about that, but I'm just talking about this idea of like, or meditation and yoga, or that we are so attracted to Eastern philosophy. And then the way that we go about it, and is a very sort of like, it's not like a bunch of people get together and throw down a bunch of yoga mats down at the local park. No,
it's happening now.
But for the most part, it's wrapped up into like overpriced yoga culture.
True. And
$30 classes.
Now we're seeing boxing happen.
Yeah,
which is funny.
Capitalism, Lululemon pants, which cost like $115, whatever the hell it is. Designer yoga gear, and girls that now all of a sudden are juicing and in a very divergent way are, not steroids, Garrity, the damn green juices that they start chugging away at.
Yeah.
And avocado toast and
I was like, that's how they get the butts up.
Right. But
I didn't know they're steroids.
No, but I'm just thinking about this, and I bring it up because if the Western world is so attracted to to shit the Eastern philosophy, which, by the way, like if
we're also picking, like, it's a cafeteria right here.
You're looking at the inception.
Picking a bit of it to enjoy, and then there's probably a lot that we've never been exposed to.
I kind of crack up when the West is like, they look at the Eastern philosophy as like an example. Like, man, that's the inception of the caste system comes from India. Like, it doesn't get any more classism than that part of the world.
Right.
Like, if you're born into as a prostitute, then the likelihood that your mom and grandmother and great grandmother, that is what's going on in that part of the world. The caste system is real, right?
That happens in India?
Yeah.
There's a class of prostitutes?
It's not just that. When you're born in,
I know there's a caste system. I understand what that is. But I know there's one. Is there one thing that every one of them is going to be a sex worker? It's very hard.
If your mom is a sex worker, it's almost impossible not to be a sex worker yourself.
Okay.
That's how entrenched it is into the culture, right? So you have like a bunch of women down at the yoga studio. So, well, practice meditation, or I got a journal. I read Osho, whatever and stuff. But I think that when we're looking at depression, there's got to be a happy medium, right? I'm not saying everybody. Listen, yoga is good for you. It feels damn good. I like it. Stretching, meditation is good for you, right? Gratitude journals are good for you, but making money is good for you. That feels good too. Having nice things, God, it feels great.
Running, sparring,
access, all this,
getting those endorphins.
But there's something.
That's the only medicine.
But there's still something in the middle that we're not hitting. I have no idea what it is, but a whole bunch of people wouldn't feel so inept and incapable and depressed. And it's not just. It's like, think about this.
Also, physical work makes you feel good.
Yeah, I always think
when you work and you can see the thing that you did.
Garrity is building a ramp in his backyard right now, a skateboard ramp.
Now that it's out, I was gonna.
Oh shit!
I don't care.
But when you're done,
do a cool video when it's done,
when you're done,
it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be a fucking great feeling.
It's a dream come true.
It's a dream come true.
Because I wanted that when I was 13.
Right.
And it took me 20 years.
And now you got a house.
10 years.
And even when I looked
at
it.
But I finally been able to do it because I have my own fucking backyard. I can put my ramp
there. And it wasn't just your
dream.
dream. It was like every little boy's dream. Because when I looked at the thing, I was like, hey, man, the thing looks pretty fucking sick. Like, I was like stoked on it. Like,
who cares if I have to relearn some of the things I was doing back then?
But
it's going to be fun.
So humans love to accomplish
and it's
shit.
good to play because we work so much and we don't give ourselves a chance to play. And there's when you become an adult, it's good to have rec sports leagues and things, but there's fewer and fewer opportunities to just play.
Yeah, yeah.
So the fact that I'm putting a mini ramp in my backyard means that I'm going to be able to wake up, run, and if I have an hour to burn, I'm going to be able to skate a little bit. And it's all going to be right there in my backyard, so I don't have to go too far. I don't have to worry about looking like a fool in front of kids that are a lot better than me.
Yeah.
Because
I'm just going to do it. My stories on Instagram.
I can't wait until it's done.
I don't think adults have enough fun.
Yeah.
Right? I'm 42.
That's why our captions are a little bit extra sometimes.
Yeah, my captions are a little bit extra. But I'm 42. Is some of the
leave the philosophy out of this. It's just a gym.
The best thing about the gym is, besides doing something I'm very passionate about, is
we get loose a little bit.
It's, man, I get to play with these fucking kids, and for a minute I get to remember what it was like to be that age again.
Yeah. And
how exciting it is, and how playful this shit is, and how there's
this
still
kid.
In
there's
the
this kid.
Sandbox.
There's this kid. His name is Joaquin. Little chubby, maybe Filipino kid.
Yeah.
He comes to the gym. He's just got the greatest attitude. One time, like.
You talking about Champ?
No.
No.
Joaquin's. You call him Champ?
Yeah, Champ.
I thought Champ was a little black kid.
No, hell no. Champ. No.
Oh, this is Champ?
That's Champ.
Okay.
He works his ass off.
Well, I just love this kid's attitude. One day, I helped him wrap his hands the other day for the first time. But one day, before I even knew the kid, I was rolling up my hand wraps, and my other one was on the ground, and he went and grabbed it and was like starting to roll it too, like almost to like compete with me, but also like trying to like do the older kid a favor, and like by doing the older kid a favor, like people are gonna like me.
He's also like paying
I was like, damn, that's
a
good little like what a nice kid. Like
Ashton loves him because the kid does whatever, all the drills. It's very disciplined.
He doesn't come all the time, but it's good to see him back. Maybe he took the summer off, but
But
I saw him last couple of days.
But we're talking about maybe it's a different kid. I'm thinking about.
Maybe it's a different kid, but all the kids are good. And they, a lot of them have good
adults
attitudes and
not,
work hard. And
adults get there's one thing. It was a death and taxes. Besides death and taxes being inevitable, it's also accepting the monotony of life. But that's a choice. Like you have the burden of financial responsibility, you have the burden of responsibilities that come along with a family, whether that be the only family, whether that be the family that you made or the family that you were, born into, whatever. But it's also, there's a little bit of a choice. I'm going to say dust those things off. But there is a monotony of life. And you don't have to sit there and say, hey, I'm okay with this. You don't have to say, hey, I got to be so serious. Like Garrity, I can be very serious, right? Like in the gym. I also could be dancing with the flag draped around my back, playing around with the kids, laughing hysterically. Like you got to, and the thing is like, I can't take myself so serious to ever let myself not let loose. Because, and I feel like whatever is going on, and maybe it's because we're fed so much shit via the technology that we're fed so much shit via the technology that so many things that we idealize and we romanticize as this being like the desired thing that we need to be at, that we're constantly like if we're not obtaining whatever that fucking dream is being pushed to us, if we don't look like the picture on the wall, if we don't look like the magazine cover, if we don't look like the Instagram post,
and sometimes it's not
the
even
commercial.
Sometimes it's not
we're
even
failing.
Sometimes it's not even the superficial negative things like that give it to. Sometimes we do it to ourselves. I write down a list of goals for the next 6 months, and if I haven't achieved enough of them by the time I'm knocking on,
I think those things are important.
I start getting on myself a little, too hard,
But that's good. I think that's healthy because.
But it's healthy if you're in the right state of mind because it's getting you to accomplish it.
Yeah.
But there was a period in my life where I would hate myself for being the piece of shit that couldn't get it done.
Let me I ask you an honest question about your goals. Are they all exclusively tied to things that are easy to measure, or do some of them have themes? And what I mean by that is it like, hey, I really like to work on being more patient as a person, versus, hey, I really like to start this app that is tied into gratitude. And if you have things out there that that are changing the dynamic of your being, of who you are as a person, if those are your goals, you're like, hey, I want to get fit, and I'd like to run my first 5K, and you get that done, that's a beautiful thing. If your goal is I'm going to be 4% body fat or 6% body fat, so I could take a better profile photo for Tinder.
I see where you're going. Your goals should be quantifiable.
Yeah, measurable, I mean, it's not like
attainable.
Some of these things that we and those goals, I think, they're not coming. Consciousness, like ideas, these seeds, they're not coming from you. They're coming from an expectation of what society thinks that you should be.
I don't think that I fall into.
You
that
have privately expressed to me sometimes it's hard for you to get around the guys that you graduated with Notre Dame from, because you feel like they're off into the beginnings of their professional careers. And I kind of looked back, and I hadn't said it to you, but I'll say it to you right now. That every one of them motherfuckers wish they were in your shoes. Just so
I'm
because
I'm pretty happy that I'm.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
what I joke is that I'm not on Wall Street. Like
right. But
I'm pretty damn happy with what I'm doing.
Yeah, but I'm saying that you got a guy that's on Wall Street that's working the floor, and maybe
there's no floor anymore.
I don't fucking know. I fucking watch a goddamn movie. I don't give a shit.
It's a desk.
I went to Wall Street the one time and saw the bull, and I was like, if the bull doesn't live anywhere, he doesn't live on fucking Wall Street. Okay, like it's a bunch of fucking pencil neck dorks that were really good at statistics. And they're like,
and building algorithms,
and building algorithms. But the algorithm was only like fixed after one thing, which was probably a very easy money. It's like, if I'm trying to quantify one thing.
All right, go with what you're going with.
So back to what I'm saying. You're in a.
I admire all my buddies that have Wall Street.
But you're in a great position because the truth is that right now, if you were to, heaven forbid, if you were to pass away right now at this moment. And I'll call your other friend Tyler from, hopefully you don't have a Tyler, but Tyler on Wall Street, he passes away. that's your same age. And I'm in the bookstore. I'm at Barnes. And there's 2 autobiographies that have been written. And I got to choose one. I got to read about this dude that was a boxer, or this dude that kind of whatever, built skate ramps, did some interesting shit. Or I got to read about the guy that always crossed every T and dotted every I and ended up on Wall Street. Well, one of the books is probably a lot more interesting. Then that's that Wall Street book. No, I'm fucking with you. So,
if it's anything like Liar's Poker, it's gonna be great.
But you see what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to get us to live up, and I know it sounds so nefarious, like some New World Order.
I want to be clear. I am very happy with
oh God, you stop with the vulnerability. We know you're happy.
I'm building that skate ramp.
Exactly. But all these guys are gonna see your skate ramp, and they're all living in New York tenements. And 800 square foot fucking housing, with where they basically when they were probably afraid to use a restroom when the girl's over that they like, because there's just no way that they're not gonna smell like the shit that they just took. And they're gonna look at you in your backyard, and you built a fucking a ramp, which isn't. I can't wait for people to see it, because it's not just a ramp; it's like a real ramp. It's not some bullshit. Like, it's a real ramp, and you gotta appreciate what it is that you have, and you also gotta stop looking. Sure. Yeah, no, I'm not saying, but we, society, not Garrity, society as a whole has to appreciate what it is they have, because there's a lot of people out there that are doing a lot of cool shit that might not necessarily translate into something that you can commodify.
We got so many amazing people at Jackrabbits.
Oh my God!
Like, so many people on good, whether it be the athletics, whether it be their other talents.
Ivan is incredible. Damo
is a talented dude.
Damo is one of these dudes that you look at him, and when you look at certain people, I don't know this, but you can kind of tell they're just sharp, and he's got that look. And then you see these videos that he puts together. So if you're following, Garrity,
he even made me look cool. So
Garrity on Instagram, I'm on Instagram. Obviously, Jackrabbits, Ashton, and so forth, right? When he's putting these videos together, you'll see the Jackrabbit logo, and it has this aesthetic to it. And it's like, I'm quick to say I couldn't do that shit. I couldn't make it happen. I don't have the eye for it.
You're a podcaster at heart.
Podcaster at heart. Talker at heart. What should the fucking talker, teacher, trainer, right? I don't know if you could do it. But it's incredible to be. And then to know with Damo too, I do believe in this.
Also, there was a lot of things I've seen recently. I remember that day, but I do not remember him recording.
Yeah.
Like when we were doing the wrestling drills, when you were taking us to the chair drills, I had no idea there was a camera around. And so it makes
he's
it
hiding. Right.
I thought he was working out with us. What was he doing?
Well, that's the other thing about Damo, because Damo's also a guy that, man, he has an incredible potential to be a really, really good fighter. And oftentimes I look at him, and I actually brought it up to him, so I'll talk about the podcast. I said, Damo, sometimes I get worried about training you, because, I invest my time in him, as Ivan does, because you're so damn talented and smart. I often think, why would you want to box? It's kind of no different than your dilemma, right? You're like, hey, listen, I come from this middle class background that I perceive as privileged. That's my presupposition, right? But
by the way, you could be poor and be privileged.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's not all money.
Nepotism.
It has to do with
what it is.
A community that helped you, that did good things for you.
By
friends
proxy, exactly. So
when I said privilege, I wasn't talking fully about money. But it has to do with teachers that cared. It has to do with parents that cared. People that had your back.
I would say you're blessed in that context. Maybe not privileged.
I think you thought I was going in a negative direction, but I was trying to say was. I don't belong in boxing by a lot of people's standards.
but same with Damo, same thing with you. You guys can do a lot of different things, right?
Damo's and I'm trying to do them all. Damo's trying to do them all.
You guys are sharp as fuck.
There's no reason why we can't.
There's a I like being around you cats because your energy, all this shit, right? It's not just the boxing shit. It's also that I could do the podcast with you. It's also that Damo and I were outside of the bowling alley and we're just bullshitting for 2.5 hours.
Thanks for the invite.
After it closed, right? About just all kinds of bullshit, right? But it's because he's sharp. And not to say he's sharp because he's talking to me. That's not what I'm trying to get across. But what's that noise?
The
neighbor's killing someone. No, I'm just kidding. So it's that we have so many talented people. I mean, we've even you look at someone like Jay Boost, right?
Yeah, that guy's
And
Incredible.
if you know Jay Booth,
We're gonna have him on the podcast.
we're gonna have him on the podcast.
Yeah.
You know Jay Booth. He was a blood from Inglewood, and he'd been shot in the spinal cord, and he'd been incarcerated, and he was told that he was going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. And I don't know what happened. It'd be interesting in the podcast, but I know that every day he's down at that gym Monday through Friday, and he's working.
He's incredible because
working somebody out.
His legs don't work perfectly,
But
man, he said, "Fuck that!
Doesn't give
I'm
a
gonna
shit.
have an upper body
that
is."
Oh yeah, we're not even talking about it.
Carved
the guy's got a physique
from a Greek
granite
fucking
Greek god. Yeah,
yeah.
the guy like who's become
Ridiculous.
a Shango warrior. I think.
Ridiculous.
But no, you're looking at this guy's body, but it's not just that. It's that
The dips that this guy can do. And
it's the guy's
pull-ups.
The guy's follow through though on life is just like crazy because you got a guy that sits there that takes his time with young kids. And to be honest with you,
he's training kids. Yeah, he's
with Ivan and I, sometimes we don't give the kids a lot of attention in the beginning because we don't know if
you don't know who's gonna stick around.
I don't know if they're gonna stick around, so it's hard for me to make an investment.
Blame you.
I got Bill there, the mummy, right? And then we
Crazy Bill from Signal Hill.
Crazy Bill.
Are we gonna get him on? The show?
We should.
Yeah, he's got cool stuff to talk about too.
Yeah, you robbed a bank. Shit,
Let him tell his story.
Getting cooler now. So then we got Jay Booth there. We got great talent that is there. We got young, all the young kids and there's so many people there. And you think about that and talent and really what it is, and then you think about unfortunately like. You can I know Damo's deal right now, which is hey, Damo's like us. He's focused on his art. He's focused on his creativity. Like Daniel too. Daniel's from the same shit. Focused on his art, focused on his creativity, focused on his process, enjoying the processes. And then you have this other world that's saying, well, if I can't assign an intrinsic value to that is closely related to money, then it's not real.
Yeah.
Then it's not a value.
Well, I'll tell you what. When I quit my job 3 months ago, and I've been currently not. Yeah. I'm making steps towards the next thing, but not making the income I was making when I had that job.
You made a lot of money. We talking. I was like, shit.
But guess what? But guess what? I am getting the workouts in.
You look better,
and I feel richer. I really do. I feel so much better.
And wealth isn't just defined by money.
Right. And my grandma might be a little nervous about it. She asks me every day, have you gotten the job yet or whatever. Yeah. I got everything under control. I'm working on the next step.
You ever think about
But I'm so happy that I did that. Because what I did was I got all my time back. Like I owned all that time once again. I wasn't doing the 10-hour days anymore at a place that wasn't mentally stimulating. So now we're able to do so much more. We're able to do things in the gym. We're able to take. I really couldn't train with you until I fully quit.
Hell no, you're working 12 or 14 hours.
Right.
How are you gonna train?
So
it's not gonna work.
And then also waking up early because I'm not getting home at 3.
Yeah.
When you wake up and the sun's been up for a while, you're automatically depressed. Your hormones are all out of whack.
It's actually something that they
it
have.
just doesn't feel good.
Is it with the circadian rhythm?
Yeah.
That says that you're gonna there's statistically a
I
higher.
feel so guilty when I wake up late if I screwed up.
To be depressed and so forth. And also, you mentioned your grandmother and God, heaven knows that you got a mortgage, you got financial responsibilities. But sometimes Eddie Griffin was this comedian. I don't know if you know who he is, but it's a famous black comedian. But he has this bit about moms.
Oh yeah, from Workaholics.
Yeah. He's got this bit about moms, but not Workaholics. No, you're thinking of, but that guy is really funny too.
That's different Griffin.
Yeah. But anyways, he has this bit about moms being pimps, and moms being pimps because they're saying to their daughters.
Oh, I know him. Yeah.
Saying to your daughters, hey, what does he do for work? Is he a doctor? Is he a lawyer? Is he a surgeon? And once again,
it's interesting
that this man that the moms are the biggest pimps out there. And then also that you would be willing to accept anything as long as a woman, as long as it comes with money. Who cares? He puts you in a nice house, and who cares?
I don't think all people say that, but he's talking about an archetype of a certain type of mom who's very aggressive.
Eddie Griffin's talking about this because he's talking about the lower class socioeconomic strata, that there's a scarcity of resources in these communities, right? And he's saying that moms are pimps because they're basically more or less that you'll take something that probably doesn't jive with your being as a whole. Let's just say being with a man that is and that is cheating on you all the time. But you'll be okay with it because he pays the bills, because he got you a Mercedes Benz, because you guys live in a suburban house, and so forth. And the only reason why I bring it up with your mom, or just the system, the way that it's set up, is that...
I'm talking about my grandma.
Your grandmother, I'm sorry, your grandmother.
I gotta see where you're going with this.
Is that with our grandparents, the people that we love, that their thing, their expectation of how you're going to do in society, the easy measurement for them, because they have no way like to actually get in touch with your soul, because that's like Heidegger, the philosopher. If I ask you how
are you jumping around?
No, I'm going to tell you. Okay. You keep cutting me off, you're not going to fucking get it, and neither will anybody else. Like Heidegger, the philosopher, has this thing when he asks people how you're doing, that there's no actual way for me to convey that to you, my emotions, right? And that when your grandmother, that when she's asking how you're doing in the Western world, that the easiest way for her to measure that is probably through Maslow's law of hierarchy of needs, but more importantly, just your financial responsibilities and whether or not financially you're kept, or you're in a position where you can take care of yourself. So you can be doing absolutely fucking miserable in society and right now in life, like just horrible. But from the outsider, it's like, well, he's making $150K. What's he have to complain about? Can't be that bad. The guy just bought a Porsche Panamera. Can't be that bad. I thought that he just got back from Costa Rica. Can't be that bad. Every time I see the guy, he's decked out in Armani Exchange. But that really has nothing to do with your being. And and I only make it the pimp reference, not to say your grandmother, but that this is kind of like the theme of how we look at how people are doing. It's hard for us to ever get a gauge of how somebody really is doing. So it's like.
But have you ever been in a situation where someone asks how you're doing? And I've been miserable at times, and I want to be able to tell them, you know what, like just to see how they react. I'm actually fucking miserable. Like things suck right now. Like I really do not.
I have. Yeah.
And it's a fun experiment, but also the reason why I pull back from doing it, not because I'm afraid to, but also because it's like, why bother them with that shit? They don't need to hear that.
Yeah, it's also like weak though. Like why ask that bullshit question?
Yeah.
Like how the fuck you doing?
Because actually, the times I have done it have kind of been to end that monotonous cycle of every day asking that same question. Yeah. Just just get ultra, even if it's not about like negative, just get ultra specific, and then they might stop asking that.
I had a friend of mine ask me this that I haven't seen for a while, but she's actually an attorney. She's like, how you doing? She's young, like she's maybe just graduated from law school like 3 or 4 years ago. So she's like kind of near life. And I hadn't seen her for a while. I'd known her because she wanted to learn how to box, so she started to box, and she's a good athlete. But I remember like just keeping it 100. Like being like, to be honest with you, I'm doing horrible. Like this is just like literally the worst thing. Like all these really, just going through it. And she was like, man, I'm really, like, she's kind of taken back. She was like, I'm really, really surprised. Like I usually ask people and they just don't tell me. And like, I just think that's really crazy that you just told me, and that's awesome, yada, yada, yada. I was like, okay, cool.
That's it. I'm still fucking miserable.
And then, which is cool, but like then she was like, yeah, we should hang out. Like we'll get a drink or something. I was like, all right, whatever. And like it's literally just like a plutonic drink, right? So like I reach out like a couple days later. It's like just crickets. Because I think that even with masculinity, like with men and shit, we're so taught like we're not supposed to let that shit out. We're supposed to hold it, right? It's not. It can't just be just men too. It's got to be women too. Society's telling us that maybe we shouldn't discuss this shit, and it's wrong because I might think that if we were actually discussing as a society, that if we're out there and we're actually talking about what it is that's bothering us, that maybe that isn't beneficial for the system as a whole. Like you step back and you're saying, hey. If I take my daughters, I don't know if
when we say
I got a 6 or
system,
9. Yeah, system.
Do we mean economic?
Not just economic. I mean, I got a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old, and if I walk them through the aisles of a supermarket, which I do sometimes, I know that they're going to. If I walk down the aisle with the magazines, that they're going to see, images of beautiful young women or whatever that expectation of beauty is. of young women on
but
the
they're
covers.
they're already seeing that because they do search the internet.
But I'm not talking about that. It's when you're
I'm not saying they're looking for it, but they do watch YouTube.
When you watch YouTube,
so eventually they're gonna get into that more teen content. You know,
but I'm not.
So they are seeing fashion or whatever. You know what I mean? So
talking about that though.
Okay.
I'm talking about like that. There's no control. If they type in beautiful woman, that's gonna come up. But there's no control in today's model of life, I guess, where everything that we're living up to, every fabric of everything that we desire, everything that we're driving towards, is this identity that we're really not coming up with on our own. So my daughters are walking the aisles and they see all these images of beautiful women, and that a lot of women probably felt like they were disenfranchised, or they knew that they could never, perhaps they didn't fit that genetic, whatever's considered attractive or desirable, and they would never live up to that expectation. Or some men might have known that maybe when they were sitting in class and we were just learning arithmetic, and somehow they'd wrap their head around the idea that if you're really good at math, that might end up one day with you being able to figure out an algorithm that would be successful, and you'd be able to be
actually
in business.
I want to say something. I want to cut you off there, because I remember when we were kids and we would argue with the teachers, or not argue with teachers, but when we would talk about like what's this math going to do for us?
What did they say?
You can only become a math teacher with this. They didn't have a good argument. A good response would have been, actually, if you do well in math, some of the highest paying jobs outside of coming out of college will require good math skills, whether it's going to be engineering or
a hedge fund manager
or being on Wall Street or doing something in computer science. They all want high level math skills. I never heard any of that.
But I'm just talking about, you're looking at a hedge fund manager,
I really shot the bed when it came to math. I did not take it seriously. Luckily, other things worked out for me, but I really, really just did not focus on math at all, and it's too bad. I wish teachers were giving that economic incentive to kids when we shun math.
I think what I sort of mean to maybe press upon is that mathematics, for the most part, that the value is exclusively aligned with money that can be made off of it. I'm not good at math. I have no idea, but I've read, I think it was either Tesla or Albert Einstein talks about many people can do math, but nobody can actually like apply that math to life and the beauty of life. And understanding math, I think the premise of it was understanding math actually shows you how math is in every part of life, right? That's like this thing, the Fibonacci sequence, the sacred geometry. You can look up that.
I've heard of that. I just don't know what it is.
It's Fibonacci, Fibonacci. It's easy for your.
I'm Italian. I know how to write Fibonacci.
So that math can be applied like that, but that when you're looking at where it is that we take something like math, or even we look at social sciences, or you look at humanities, whatever philosophy, that the philosophy of what's Dale Carnegie, for example, the writer of How to Influence Friends.
How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah, that most people that are reading that book aren't doing it because they want to have maybe a better experience. I say most. I'm sure certain people are reading that book because they want to enrich their lives with their everyday communication with folks that they run across, and have heartfelt conversations, and be able to spark up dialogue, and be able to have something that is going to enrich their lives, which is the connection with another human being, whether you know them or just a random human being that you can learn from. But I'm going to say that most people aren't doing it for that. I'm saying most people are doing it because they're hoping to influence for money.
But the author in the book does tell you that if you're doing it this way, you're not going to achieve it because you're not receiving the
because it's not authentic, right? Yeah, but even me, I listen to the audiobook, right?
But it's
a guilty sort of pleasure.
I think it's applicable for both folks.
But
that person that's authentic with it, and that person that uses those principles just for career.
How many people do you think read The Secret or read that book? Dale Carnegie's book. They probably read both books.
No, I don't think The Secret was Dale. Wasn't The Secret like something in the 2000s?
Yeah, but
Dale Carnegie's book was
it's
old.
been a long time. But I'm saying they're reading books like these.
And it's a huge industry.
And it's still not working for them. And then it gets even more complicated because I'll hear people talk about this, which is like the flow. You know, people talk about being in the flow. Like you and I do believe in the flow. Shit. I feel the flow. Whatever the flow is, I feel like there's a
flow.
Yeah, I feel not that flow, not that mullet flow. But I feel like there's a flow. Like you can know when there's good energy in the gym and shit's really happening.
Yeah.
Like you feel it. Like
Absolutely.
damn, this is magical shit. We're all learning some shit. We're all in tune.
Attendance is good. The vibe is high. Everyone's working out.
We're resonating.
You hear the
we're
pads
on this
slapping.
Vibration. We're on the same frequency, right?
Sparring. You're seeing improvement from everybody.
But sometimes, like people saying, like, well, if you're reading these books, if you're meditating, if you're subscribing to this new age philosophy, which a lot of people are, even this idea of Dale Carnegie's How to Win and Influence People, right? Based on the shit that's probably true, body language, but this, other stuff is like
the book has really.
I think it's a great book,
really,
but
keen principles that actually work.
Yeah, but it's also
basically what he's saying is that people like to be heard. Mm-hmm. People like to be complimented. People like to be felt. If you can make someone feel important, you've made their day, and you can actually benefit from that too. It's
kind of some next level shit though. It's like but
it's so basic and it's so original.
You can take that influence and you can.
Your grandmother could write in that book because she has the intuition to do that kind of thing.
But you can replace influence with how to manipulate people.
But that's not really.
But
what his intention was with that book.
Well, are we talking about? I don't think anybody that if I'm having a conversation with you right now, and I've got a presupposition, I'm being preemptive on what it is that I'm trying to get done. Like everything that I'm trying to get done is actually that I've already given it some thought. I'm not really in a moment with you. That's just not real.
But
like if you just come in and you're a fighter, I'll give you an example. The shit.
I don't think that's necessarily bad because when we have conversations,
shit didn't work out between Anthony Sims and I, right? The magician that came from the DAZN fighter that came to train with Ivan.
Oh yeah.
Shit didn't work out. No biggie. It's boxing. But it's when Anthony, by the way, who's a great fighter, but I don't know if could be a world champion. He can be if he has the right training. Whether that's me or somebody else that's a great trainer, I think he gets with the right people to be very successful. Very athletic kid, very exciting, very flashy, old school fighter, knows how to turn people. But it's also a different time where like he's got some big names in his division. But the reason why I bring him up is that why it's relevant to this conversation. If Anthony Sims is coming into the gym and I did my homework on Anthony Sims, I said, oh, he lives in Compton. Or he actually lives in Long Beach, but he's from Compton, or he listens to oldies. Or he listens. He's a Dodger fan, or whatever the fuck it is. These are things I know about Anthony Sims just by seeing on my Instagram. And then he comes over into Jackrabbits, and I'm playing the stylistics, and I got a Dodger hat on.
You're genuinely interested in a person?
No, but this is some Dale Carnegie. But I'm saying this is what. But
what is dating like?
No, but I'm just talking about where.
Don't you do that when you try to find a
guys
a
have to. But what it is even this idea of a partner is no different than my daughters walking through the aisles of a supermarket, seeing images that they have no control of, that are being pushed out by of bodies of women that are basically that have been brushed over. That have been photoshopped, women that have emancipated themselves, or women now, which is on the other
emancipated themselves.
Yeah, skinny, like super, just starve themselves to death. So women that you don't think that's a word?
I don't think that's the right word.
Look it up. It's the right word.
Daniel,
is emancipated a word?
Not for this content.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
For what?
For skinny.
For skinning yourself?
Skinny. Starving yourself.
I made it anyway.
Okay. God damn it. Well, he just looked it up. We got the thumbs up. I'm up 3-1 again now. Okay, so that you got women that are starving themselves to be skinny, and then you have women on the reverse side that are doing things like the Kardashians. They're getting butt implants and lip injections and Botox and all this other shit. And these are the images that they're running across. And then...
Oh, sir, is this... emanciate means to have surgery? To lose flesh so you can become very thin?
Emanciated.
Yeah, so you're like... So like what we're doing right now in the weight loss competition.
No, emancipated. Did you just look that up?
Yeah, you're right.
Oh God, you're one of these guys.
Only thin or weak, especially because of illness or a lack of food. That's what it means.
Okay, so egos get people in trouble too.
Yeah.
But back to what I'm saying. You're looking at this girl has an expectation of what the guy needs to be. That's also some shit that is probably pretty natural with biological determinism, which is like we don't fucking know. Maybe it's some alpha male shit, but it's also like a whole bunch of other shit. Like
it's that provider
thing
that we've talked about a little bit.
It's for feminism right now is a something that I could totally subscribe to. I believe that we need more feminism in society, but there's going to be some tropes that need to fall off, right? I mean, if we really are looking at equality in society, and you're a young woman and you're reading Beauvoir or you're reading whatever third, fourth wave, whatever it is, but like these things, the patriarchy's for real, and like if you want to call it the white male patriarchy, that shit's for real too, right? That's the reason. Although it's losing its grip, right? Like not.
Why do you think whiteies are freaking out?
Well, I don't know. But my thing is like this, that if you believe in these things, which I do, then we're going to probably have to have a conversation like, well, maybe man shouldn't always pay for dinner every time. Or that shouldn't be an expectation. And maybe chivalry is a two-way road. Right? And there's other things. I mean, but that these are conversations that are okay to have. Because as archaic as it would be for me to say, if this is the 1950s, which used to be very much accepted for me to say if I was married that my wife should be able to have sex with me. Anybody that's married in the 1950s, your wife, it was a common thing to say your wife should give you sex at any time that you want it, right? But we know that now to be archaic. That's some dark age, some bullshit, right? Yeah. So like it's the same thing. We got feminism, which I believe is real. Well, there's gonna be some tropes. There's gonna be some of those narratives. They're gonna have to fall. And so if we're looking at these things, and I'm okay with deconstruction of social narratives. So
like let's say the ring that you're supposed to spend 3 months.
Yeah,
salary,
like think about this.
Is that a little bit
it's
excessive?
Crazy.
Like
it's
maybe
crazy, yeah.
Maybe we should rein it in and make it more affordable.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, like just get a nice ring. Doesn't have to be.
What we know about diamonds.
Doesn't have to be in the.
And what we know about diamonds and what we know about the De Beers and what we know about the diamond campaign, the fact that it actually
fantastic marketing.
Yeah,
right?
So
selling this
yeah, but it's
diamonds are forever thing.
Diamonds are forever.
Was one of the best campaigns of all time.
It's also that a diamond isn't a precious stone like that. It's not. An emerald is, but there's not a scarcity of diamonds. There's plenty of diamonds to go around. Did you know they actually control the amount of diamonds that are released to the market every year?
It's fascinating, yeah.
Yeah, and that they've made a fixed price, and they don't want to flood the market with diamonds because.
And they told men that you're inadequate if you don't spend 3 months' salary on that ring.
So back
and they told women that you're a loser if you're the last one in your friend group to not get proposed to.
Not get proposed.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
So all these things do have there is a winner in the house, right? We got to look at who's winning. Yeah. Well, who wins is industry. Who wins is the oligarchs. Who wins are the
De Beers,
the industrialists, the De Beers. Yeah, it's not.
Is that the way you pronounce it?
De Beers. Yeah, De Beers. Yeah, the South Africans. So it's probably like I want to try South De Beers brew.
Yeah.
But you can't, when we're looking at like why, I'm trying to figure out like, okay, well, what the fuck is going on here? You got guys that we love. We got Robin Williams, for example, comes to mind. The fuck, how's my man from
We're talking about suicide?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
what the fuck?
We don't know what's going on in someone's mind.
It's not. I understand. It's not just.
It's heartbreaking.
It's not just.
Brought so much happiness to so many people.
What was the DJ? Avicii.
He killed himself.
Yeah,
I didn't know what kind of death it was.
But you got all these people that they fucking made the American dream. I mean, he takes his life in Malibu. I'm sure Avicii is. I don't know where he took his life, but I'm sure he's in penthouses in Vegas and New York and Japan, Tokyo, Japan.
Well, this kind of leads into the way I wanted to wrap this show, and that would be that we should have more conversations about depression, the way you and I do at the gym, and we're not worried about machismo. We're not worried about that.
Yeah. I see it with the kids
sounding like you're less than because
not
you're
all the kids
willing
are depressed,
to.
but like there's a kid in there that goes through a lot of shit with his mom. His mom's like not a very good figure in his life. And I go to him, I said, bro, what's going on? Is everything cool? And he's always will hold water for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then he'll let me know what's up. And like, how you tell this young kid? Like, I told him the other day, I said, what's going on is, I said, when adults get older, they often get bitter and resentful, and they're angry at themselves because they've lost all hope, and they feel helpless. And the easiest thing that they can probably take that out on is their child. She's saying some crazy shit to her kid. She's telling her kid that she doesn't think that he has what it takes to be a world champion. Telling this to a young man. So what the fuck broke her so much? It wasn't so. It could be family. So it could be family.
My family tells me that too, but
yeah,
but can't give a fuck what they have to say.
Okay, but it's also like, well, what is it? What are they comparing you to?
But I know
what is it that they compare? What is it that they compare you to?
I shouldn't sound like I'm belittling that relationship.
What's the podcast? How you put me onto it? How did we build this?
How I built this.
How I built this. And there's a pretty common theme in this shit, which is like, these guys were all being told by everybody around them that you can't fucking do it. Right?
Well, okay. Thank you for timing that in, because I sounded like an asshole when I was shooing this kid's problematic, sort of depression at home. But what I meant to say, really, it was like I said, my parents told me that too. But you just gotta say fuck it and not like. Yeah. There's no one's going to give you a world championship. You have to go steal it from somebody.
When I say this number, and I say it all the time, I said when it's all said and done, I'm gonna have 25 world champions. It's a fucking huge number. Jesse Reed had 23, right? Joe Goosen had 17. I think Emmanuel had like 30.
I want.
And I also know when you get one, they all start to come. But the fucking thing about it, when I say it,
I want you to have a couple world champions by the time my son starts boxing.
It's not arrogant. It's not
because I want to get him. Because we've talked about this.
I'll have my goddamn world champion in the next 5 years.
What if we got together when I was younger and I could have learned this shit earlier?
We would have had you in a much better place.
But that's fine, and the way the world works, the way it's meant to be,
it doesn't matter anyways.
But all I'm saying is that
we're here on a fucking podcast again.
When I get my kid started boxing at 7, whatever USAB allows you to. Yeah. I hope you're still training, and I hope you have enough time to train when the champions are rolling through.
I'm with such and such.
Because we don't know. I don't know if you yet know to be named. Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but my Instagram following is now at 7 million. No, I don't.
It'll be the next app by then.
But yeah.
But I'm gonna go back to what I had been thinking about throughout this conversation on the way I wanted to sort of leave this is that every time one of these suicides happens, these publicized suicides, you hear people say,
"Yeah, I know what you're saying."
It's not. If you need to talk to somebody, go ahead and talk to somebody. If reach out to these people, like just don't think twice. Reach out, and what happens is it's always after the result of another heartbreaking suicide. What I would like to say is that whoever you are listening to this, I know you're depressed too. I mean, like me and Trevor, we've been talking about once you finally talk about your own depression with other people, you realize that it's not uncommon.
It's two things are gonna happen.
So
the other person's gonna look at you.
Reach out. So I'm gonna take this moment. I'm gonna take this moment to tell you to reach out to people. Yeah. Now, if you need to help. If you need help with something,
there's a suicide hotline too, I'm sure.
But let's not wait to have another conversation after another. Boxing's a side sport that we have terrible things happen. Let's not wait until another tragedy in this sport happens before we remind people to do so. That's why the Gypsy King is such a.
You gotta be thankful for Tyson Fury.
Yeah, to be able to talk about it at his height.
When we get to that level, when we have Tyson Fury on the podcast,
on the show,
which we will.
Yeah, a couple years from now.
Fuck a couple years, but I guarantee it's going to be just an incredible experience to talk about a guy, to talk with a man that keeps it so fucking honest.
Yeah.
So, Anyways, we wrapping?
So yeah, we're wrapping.
All right.
We appreciate you guys listening to this
Hanging in-
episode.
yeah. Thank you for hanging in there. Behind
Share it with somebody, and
follow me on Instagram at Trevor, TREVOR, Sambrano, SAM as a man, BRAN as a Nancy. Oh, you like how I spelled that out? You like
Yeah.
that? That's that ageism shit.
and if you're listening to this, just do your best, reach out to somebody, run some miles, get some endorphins going, and keep going.
All right.